Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a work session of the South Kingstown Planning Board. The date is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. The time is 6:30 p.m. We'll do roll call. Susan Axelrod.
Here.
Liz Carp. Here. Paul Jordan is absent. Armand Monaco.
Here.
Robin Pothier.
Here.
Caper Wilson.
Here.
And Maria Mack is here. Our sole agenda item this evening is recommendation to the Town Council, Old Tower Hill Road Neighborhood Project, Form-Based Code Review and Recommendation to the South Kingstown Town Council. Everybody hopefully has the letter that Jamie sent out yesterday.
I've read it.
I did not.
I read it
Can you,
today.
oh, he's got copies.
Copy,
He's
please.
here to work off.
Anybody else want a
I do
copy?
one, yeah, thank you. I must have.
I thought it was a good letter.
Oh, and that one has a bigger font, I noticed.
Yes.
This was only like 3/4
Yeah,
of a
me
page
too.
when I printed it.
That's a good thing
Maria,
I
do you
didn't print
want
that one.
larger
I wouldn't be able to read it.
Yes, please. That way I can
Well, maybe I'll take
have a
one too.
neat copy
Do
to
you have
write on.
extras?
You need it up.
No, I just have the one that has smaller font.
Is everybody all set? Curtis? So thank you, Madam Chair. As you asked staff, with potentially some participation from one or two members, you tasked us with putting together kind of a summary of the past 2 years and the format for a letter to the town council that's worded in a favorable manner for the ultimate adoption of the code. So I know we talked about bullets and points and whatnot, and I want to say I started out with a 6 or 7 page document. I knew that 6 or 7 pages would be too long for anyone to really read without kind of forgetting what they wrote or read in the first couple pages. So I used technology to try and pare it down. I'm at 3 pages right now. There's a couple of bullets right at the beginning, but I tried to focus on 5 main topics or points, and you'll see those within the letter. So I'm open for any suggestion. I want to say there's pride of authorship, but there's also pride of putting the right words on paper, and they need to be the planning board's words. And I tried to capture your 2 years of work in charrettes and workshops and going back and forth with our consultant, going back and forth with the community, listening to input, listening to planning board's comments, and trying to get you to a point that you can react to something in writing. One point that Andy will probably make tonight is you kind of have a regulatory responsibility in your referral of making findings, and those findings are based on your review of the proposed language, and it's consistently with the comprehensive community plan. We're working on that language this week. We will push that out with the agenda packet for your meeting next Tuesday. But Andy's potential suggestion will be to take this draft and roll it into kind of a regulatory findings, so you don't have 2 documents. That you potentially have 1 concise document. May add a page to this, may only add half a page, but potentially you may be better off doing 1 concise document, which looks at the regulatory realm of the findings that Rhode Island law wants you to conclude positively on. So, with that, I will be quiet. I've spoken the suggestions, amendments, changes.
Like I said,
Remember to speak up,
I
everyone.
thought it's a good letter. The one bullet that maybe could be clearer is offer transportation choices. That doesn't say it enough, I think. I don't know, just what it implies.
The intent there is in this form of development, because it's not intended to be auto-centric, it's supposed to be pedestrian walkable. There's transit in the area, but it's hard to get to. So it's a development pattern that is designed to be more walkable, that gets you to transit more quickly and safely than the present sidewalk system today. So
As in a bus stop.
to a bus stop. And again, depending on how the area develops, those bus stops could be let's say, reorientated or relocated based on how the population builds and the area builds up.
And the trolleys are possible?
I worked 30-plus years as a transportation planning and transit planner also. Trolleys on the local level are very difficult to make self-sustaining and even financially viable. Like a trolley between, downtown and there would be financially difficult to substantiate the need. I mean, I worked on programs between, everybody's familiar with Mystic, Connecticut, and trying to run a trolley system between the hotels in downtown and alleviate some of the parking in downtown, and those ran at $500,000 deficits that someone had to pick up. So what ends up happening is everyone says the trolley system works if they're called headways, it comes every 15 minutes. And then you look at the financials of that, and you can only run it once every hour, which means if you miss the trolley at your hotel at 9 in the morning, you have to wait till the next one at 10. In all likelihood, you're gonna go get your car and you're gonna drive to downtown Mystic, park, and then the same thing's true if you wanna get back to your hotel and you miss it, you have to wait another hour. So in order, in Mystic's scenario, to run every 15-minute headways, you needed 4 vehicles. It costs over $250,000 a year to run a vehicle, so it was $1 million program. One trolley was $250,000, but it really didn't serve a useful need. So trolleys, maybe someday, Robin, but no, I don't think in the near term.
Yeah. If you're an old folk and you're in town and had to park in the municipal parking garage,
No.
how am I gonna get around?
Jamie, one
Yeah.
idea that I had, again, open for discussion. You had 5 different points. Just thinking in terms of kind of formatting, you have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on in bold. Wondering if it might be more effective if rather than saying first, you actually put in a partial sentence or bullet in bold. For example, first is the one is greater certainty about the type and quality of development, and then the second one is preserving and strengthening the community's identity, and then the fourth one is support walkable and connected neighborhoods, and have those in bold type, and then the paragraph that's immediately below then explains why and how might be. And not that we
Yeah.
want to create a document that's so bare bones, because this is going to be part of the record, and we want anyone that wants to read this to be able to understand why we think all of these things are important. So I worry about making anything too brief, but we also don't want to have, I think, more than, 5 pages?
I'm at 3 right now.
3.
3.
So I agree, and I think that the way it is right now, it just looks like a lot of text. And if I'm scanning it, nothing's jumping out at me. That there needs to be, I like the idea of a bold half line.
But I think, and I'm agreeing, but not necessarily, I'm disagreeing, but not necessarily agreeing, however I say that. I may have said that wrong. I understand the point, but there's 2 aspects of the delivery of the message, we can say. There's a letter, and then in all likelihood, we're going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation. So the 3-page or 4-page letter that is created will have to be formatted into some specific bullet points. So if we were making 4, we have 5 points we're making. I think if you looked at those 5 points and said, I have to do a slide, the first point you would say is there's greater certainty about the type and quality of development. That's a bullet. I'm not gonna read the next 4 sentences. Then to Maria's point, when you get to the second point, we would highlight that second point, terminology and that. So I think there's an opportunity for delivering the message in two different formats. There's a longer 3 or 4 page letter, and then there's the presentation material that you're giving to the council and the public during the public hearing process. In the nature of the text, we can highlight, I kind of just did it here where we, you know, we can bold and underline the point we're making within the paragraph.
And do you plan to have your PowerPoint images without text, so they won't just be reading the words, or you won't be stating the words, but they'll actually absorb the content? You know how,
I have been advised that the town council would appreciate the presentation prior to
oh, good, yes.
presenting it.
Mhm.
So some of the, I don't like to just read the words that are on the
Right.
slide. So typically, if there is a simple sentence, if the bullet point is greater certainty about the type and quality of development, I will not read that to them. There will be a half a sentence before it and a half a sentence behind it. So I am reading a full sentence that includes that language, but I am not a reader of slides. I could literally say, all right, everybody, read that one, next slide, read that one, next slide.
One more comment for now. This is just like a nitpicky thing. It just seems weird to say "Dear Town Council." Do you either say "Honorable Town Council" or have it in a memo form to South Kingstown Town Council from South Kingstown Planning
However
Board?
you would
It sounds weird. It looks, I don't know.
Again, I
Dear
can
is a little
I can
too
show it to
informal.
you in a
Yeah.
letter format and a memo format.
Okay,
Hi, Andy. We literally, if I can back up a little bit.
sure.
So, Andy Tights has just arrived. What I explained to him, Andy, is we're going over the letter, the 3-page letter. I explained to them that you and I have had discussions about kind of not having 2 letters, one that comes up with findings and then another letter that comes to some recommendations to the council, that we may potentially have a hybrid that takes the findings in a 3-page letter and puts them into one document. And we would work with legal on that.
Mhm.
So,
Jamie, 2 points. Is there ever going to be a situation that you see where the letter is standalone without the slides? Because that makes a difference how
Well,
the letter is formatted. And it's great to say, oh, we're going to have a slide presentation in the letter.
The bullets, the slide presentation needs to stand on its own, and the letter needs to stand
Okay.
on its own. I think they're stronger if you can emphasize something when they're put together, but they also have to live in a world where they're separate. Where someone has a PowerPoint presentation, doesn't have the letter, and someone has a letter but doesn't have the PowerPoint
Laptop.
presentation. I would use a slide to reinforce the points you're trying to make.
And-
To Maria's
Yeah.
point in that first paragraph, the most important thing that everyone is potentially gonna take out of that there is greater certainty about the types and quality of development.
Would the members of the public have access to the final version of what we're sending on to them?
Yeah, it would be
If
part
they-
of the agenda that's given to
Okay.
the council, so they would have a copy of that letter.
And ultimately, isn't it also part of the public record?
Public record.
Yeah.
This might be kind of nitpicky. The previous letter with the little font, you actually commented that there might be a better way to say this in a note. So if you look at page 3, the second paragraph, what's now shown as under 5th, the second paragraph, I have read that so many times, and I can't make sense out of it. We use this word comfort, development comfort, but I don't know what that paragraph means. Maybe you could go over it and just
I'm
explain
sorry,
it.
which,
This one.
oh, it's, okay.
So the 5th point, the form-based regulations promote economic development.
Yeah, right. Wait. It's, first of all, it's very long. It says the design guidelines that accompany form-based development standards also provide developers who choose to invest in quality development. Comfort, I think comfort's a weird word. It's like dear
It should be
town
certainty
council.
or something, right?
assurance or.
Yes.
Well, you could
Maybe
say,
assurance,
maybe just
Yeah,
say
I
instead
a
of,
changed-
level of
why
assurance.
don't,
Yeah.
why
Yeah,
don't, wait, be simpler. Also assure, if you change provide to assure developers who choose to invest that their investments, it's stronger and
It's just a
it
long
connects,
sentence.
it connects the subject and the object more intimately than the current structure.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
If
Just,
people want to give me a few suggestions to reword that,
Yep.
that paragraph or that sentence, I'll review
Well,
those
okay.
and look at how we can be more concise and to the point. I can understand I was at 6 or 7 pages
does
trying
that
to get it
do
down
it for you?
to 3.
Also
I thought it was very
assure.
readable.
I didn't know if assure was like, I
Too
know
much?
it's not insure,
Right.
but is assure too strong a legal word?
No.
I mean, I like the word assure. Actually, that's what I put on mine. Also assure developers who choose to invest. Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay. I'll give them my comments.
Okay.
They're minor.
So I feel like this is very long, and I'm afraid that if it's too long, it won't be read. It'll be skimmed because we're all busy people. And I feel like there might be a lot of places in here where instead of the forefront being, this is really good stuff, we really need to work toward this, it's pointing criticism at where we're at now and old development. And I think that I'm not sure that we need to point our fingers so hard at whatever regulations we have now that are very, very bad, and this is better. And I think almost every point falls into explaining what's terrible about what we have now. And I don't know if it feels extra, so that if we were tightening it up, I don't know that we need to.
We talk about parking lots a lot, and we talk about parking lots in front a couple of times.
I'm going to disagree with you. As I see one of the most important functions of this letter, laying the groundwork for the decision and putting into the public record. And I think what this really does is points to what we have, what we had in the past, what we currently have in terms of the residual. It brings out the extensive amount of work that's gone into it, the involvement with the public, the thought about the needs of the various constituencies of the community. By definition, it's going to be lengthy. So I think it does a nice job, and I'm not saying it can't be tightened, but I think that trying to strive for abbreviation and clarity with regard to the current is not the sole goal here. And I'm concerned that the kind of refocus that you're talking about is going to lose some of that context, which I think is important. The second thing is what I've noticed about the difference between the current draft of the form-based code that we're looking at and every one I've seen in the past is it's actually a lot more succinct than the prior ones. But one of the things that it's done is taken out all of that history of the charrettes. And I think that's a good thing. I think that the form-based code itself should not contain all of that stuff, but I think it is important to have it there someplace.
To add to what Susan said about when she said bad zoning or whatever, however you put it, there's certainly a way to make a comment relative to existing zoning and just use the term limitations or something like that rather than subjective decision making by the town. That just
Yeah. Well, so for example, for number 2, second, the code that focuses on building forms helps preserve and strengthen the community's identity. That sentence that starts with, yet many conventional zoning ordinances apply generic dimensional standards that could have little or no connection to the community's historic development patterns of long-term vision. I feel like that entire sentence that starts with the word yet could be ditched, and you could simply say, this code is, every municipality has a distinctive pattern. This proposed code has been calibrated. Like, I don't know that that whole sentence sort of, to me, that whole yet sentence, which is 4 lines long with no periods, which is a lot, doesn't lend to the argument and makes this more, to me, that it makes that paragraph much more cumbersome than it needs to be. And there's a few places in here where, you know, we started talking about all the different types of housing. These options may include duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, courtyard style. Like, I don't know that all of that needs to be in the letter. That just makes the letter very long. You could just say, you know, we're giving a whole lot of great new options here, much more diversity. South Kingstown needs more diversity, and call it good without, I don't know, I feel like it's in the weeds on some of these points.
Maria, can I?
Certainly.
No one is going to read this letter.
Don't
Okay?
say that.
No,
It's
no
true,
one
it's
is
true.
going to read this
Come
letter.
on.
This letter is really, it needs to have the stuff added that Jamie's going to add with the findings of consistency with the comprehensive plan for the legality of it. And I'm sure if we spend another year, we can write a much better,
We're not gonna
more
spend another
argument.
year.
But understand, nobody's going to read it, and in the off chance that anybody reads it, it's only going to be the people who are already in favor of it. Nobody who's against it or on the fence is going to read it. So it really doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time making it better. It's got a lot of good stuff. Maybe it's longer than it needs to be, but that's good because this allows the town council to say, as part of the things they're relying on, they're incorporating and accepting the planning board's recommendation and your findings that are here in the letter. And if it's a little too long or verbose, doesn't matter. But I wouldn't try to make this an argument to convince anybody and make it a nice short thing. If you're gonna do that, wait till it passes and then spend the time crafting a one-page press release. But no one is gonna read it, and it won't help you no matter what to do it.
Well, he's the expert.
I don't think we're doing this to try to convince any naysayers, but to have it be, as Caper said, part of the record, and it's there for people in
And
the
it's not
community to
gonna
read
convince
on the website.
the counselors either.
No.
They're gonna be convinced by what's said at the hearing and so forth. They're not gonna be convinced by this no matter what.
But we still want a good letter. So if we tighten the letter up a little, fix some little things, I don't think that's a bad thing. And then, you know, those that choose to read it, go for it, and
So what's the purpose of the letter?
The purpose of the letter is because the law requires a recommendation from the planning board. That's the purpose of the letter.
And if anybody, any
And
challenge,
findings of consistency with the comp plan, which aren't in. I mean, I would rather see Jamie's time going forward to the findings of consistency
Yeah.
than trying to make this a better letter, and trim it down. That to me is what's important that we have, because that's the legal basis for it.
And again, I used the term before, we have many masters, right? We're trying to, as I'm writing and wrote and rewrote, I'm trying to anticipate what Robin's gonna ask, what Susan's gonna ask, what Armin may have, what Maria said, what Liz and Caper have said, and Paul and all the people involved have said over time, and I'm saying, well, short is great, but then Robin's gonna ask me, what does housing diversity really mean? Right? To your point, I put a short, concise thing about transportation choices. And then my voice is coming from Robin saying, can you explain transportation choices, right? So if I potentially define that in 2 sentences, I may have had Susan say, I know what transportation choices mean, why did you add another sentence? So just understand where we were coming from writing this. Brian did a good job of editing it internally. To Andy's point, I may be a little more optimistic and say that
They're all gonna read
a
it
few people
twice.
are gonna read it. And part of me also says is there may be 1 or 2 people who read this who are new to the fact that you've been working on this for 2 years, so they don't know why you're doing this. They don't understand some of the choices you made. They don't understand the struggles you have with zoning code. And I'm not picking on the existing zoning code. The existing zoning code in some instances ties your hands behind your back. All you're looking at is the front yard, side yard setback, and a building height. That's all you get to look at, and where you may put some trees and some shrubs on the property.
But
This
again,
goes a little further than that.
Yeah, I mean, just a reference to limitations rather than saying subjective decisions, but I just.
I
think
do
that sounds
have
terrible.
wording for that, if you
Positive, yeah.
bear with me very
And I think
quickly.
overall, it's great, and it's actually, having been written from a planning perspective, it's pretty short.
Take 7 minutes to read
It's
it.
much briefer than what you usually write.
So what to Maria's point, that paragraph where I've reworded it to say,
I'm sorry, which paragraph are we?
very first paragraph,
It starts with first.
first kind of subject
Yeah.
matter where we're trying to make a point that this can make the development process difficult to navigate and more likely to
Got it.
producing consistent outcomes. So what I've said there is that the town's conventional zoning relies heavily on carefully crafted approvals, variances, special exceptions, and lengthy discussions. So again, you're trying to create this that eliminates these very long discussions and back and forth, that doesn't require these 3-page decisions that are carefully crafted. To Maria's point, it's not that you're making up discretionary stuff, it's just the nature of how you review applications and approve them right now. You do that in a very carefully methodic point, giving some of the limitations of the existing regulations. So that a developer doesn't say he's gonna do X, and then when he actually builds it, does Y. So we're very careful and methodic in the way we craft and draft motions.
I don't have any problem with your proposed revision. It is far more concrete. So the illustration is, I think, stronger, but it's actually far more critical of what we have today than the current language, which is more euphemistic and obtuse. That's my only observation.
I know that we're not picking apart the letter, but there's one sentence in here that I don't like. On the last page, it says, "The proposed code being recommended by the planning board was not developed by simply copying code provisions from another community." If it wasn't, then why are we even bringing it up? If you started that paragraph with, "These new zoning regulations
the
were
second
carefully
sentence.
prepared," just boom, hit it with that. That other stuff sort of opens a can of like, oh, well, is that even a thing that we're copying? Like, don't even bring it up, because we didn't do it, we wouldn't do it, this was, and by just saying it's carefully crafted, you're negating even a doubt that you've copied somebody else. Like, I don't know
I
if
agree.
that sentence doesn't lend. I'm also a little bit sad that some of these bullet points don't address some things that we've been really thoughtful about, like stormwater and impervious surfaces, green space, street trees, that it doesn't, this new code will create green space, street trees, and stormwater infrastructure that we don't have now, and will mandate it. Was that deliberately not included?
No, again, in my paring down, that may have been one of the things I dropped inadvertently, because my mind knows the regulations that it's going to have to occur.
That's one of the more appealing things to the
Maria and I
tourists who
had a
reads this.
discussion about this earlier, that potentially adding one more bullet to our bullet points or intro to highlight the fact of increased stormwater management.
Yeah.
And
We're
also
making
the
correction, we're
landscaping,
improving, yeah.
Landscaping things that we're also trying to accomplish as part of this.
I think that's the most appealing part to an
Yeah.
awful lot of people.
Yeah, because it's climate appropriate design, whether
Yeah.
that's too terse a term, but again, you can mention stormwater and all of the benefits of problems that we're gonna be solving.
And I think we're also creating a lot of opportunity here for development to be much more diverse and thoughtful and community-driven by giving people options. Have we drilled down hard enough that this is a really good project because it gives developers a lot more options, diversity that they don't have now? Like, we've sort of been careful to make sure that everybody doesn't think we're restricting them too much, but I think focusing on a lot of great new opportunity that developers will have. And maybe it's mostly about green space and housing, but not really, because now we're giving them more lot coverage and all kinds of other benefits to a developer. And do we need to focus on the positive more?
We can take a look at that.
It's pretty positive too overall.
Mhm.
Yeah, few little additions here and there.
I think there are multiple sentences or statements in here that speak to the point that the developer has the ability to do much more under this code than they could currently. There's a trade-off there because they have to adhere to the code, and there are some additional standards with regards to form and architecture. But even the architecture standards really talk about building form and don't nail down that a cornice has to be an exact size and an exact spacing. It just says you have to have some architectural standards to do it. It leaves that up to the architect or the design team. But I'll reread it to them.
Have you decided what images you're going to use? I'm sure we've seen them all, but just wondered if.
I continue to refine them.
Okay.
And when I'm working on letters, I have background renderings kind of going throughout the day and throughout the evening.
And the findings will reflect items from the comprehensive plan. Is there anything in the town charter that's relevant for something like that or not? Thinking health, safety, welfare, you know.
I don't think we need to reference the charter.
Okay, all right.
So does anyone feel that we've missed the mark completely? No, you know, I get the emphasis on stormwater and greenscaping and landscaping and everything. We can add a couple of little points or sentences in there. And again, that was trying to get the 3 pages.
It's obvious how much work went into this.
Yes.
Like, it's a good letter.
It is
a
good.
letter. And I think it's a convincing letter. I think if you read it, and Ms. Robin said it.
If you
doesn't
read it.
It doesn't take that long to read it. It kind of pulls everything together, especially for people who may not be as aware of the process and the purpose.
And to Andy's point, the letter isn't an attempt to sway someone's opinion. It's
Right.
just try and articulate what you've been doing for 2 years
Yeah.
and what the community was asking you to do long before you started this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, this has been in the works for long before I entered the picture as a planning director here. And Brian was on one of the student
Right.
projects when he was at URI. When he was an undergrad.
No.
I remember one of his taglines for the area as a whole. It was originally developed as commerce before community. It was
That's a good line.
really good, yeah, really good line.
So, thank you for your consideration and for your continued service. Are we thanking the town council for their continued service? Like, I thank them, but is that a little bit too much
What
like,
a-
is it a little bit too much like bacon and cookies?
Where's that?
It's the second to last paragraph.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd
we
leave
could
that
scratch-
one.
Andy would take care of that one.
Actually, I think if it's gonna be signed by Maria, she ought to
Yeah, she should
have a
write-
lot to
she should
say
write
on the
tagline
closing.
at the end.
With love and kisses.
Thank
Your
for
humble and obedient
consideration.
servant.
Your wish is my command.
Thank you for your consideration.
I don't think you even need that at all. Respectfully
Yeah.
submitted by and on behalf of the town of South Kingstown Planning Board.
Done.
Yep.
I think that's all you need.
And then when I read it, I did put little bullets to mark off 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We might do something to just delineate different points on the
Yeah.
page, like visually, so it doesn't look like just pages of text. Nitpicky, I'm sorry.
So my intent tonight is to get your feedback.
Mhm.
I mentioned mentioned to Andy, by midday Thursday, I wanted to know how you felt on this. I've been reviewing the comprehensive community plan, highlighting sections of that. We'll roll that into a format added to this letter, and then I'll run it by Andy, and then our intent would be to attach it to the agenda for your regularly scheduled meeting a week from
Yep.
tonight, so that you
Okay.
could
Sure.
hopefully give it the thumbs up, and then that will go to council.
Yeah, we want a formal vote.
Yes.
Do you want any,
Yeah, so if
It's just,
there's any
it's
little
very,
markups-
very minor, but there are a few markups from,
Okay.
Before we finish up, I don't know if there's anything on reports or special items from you, but
Just before you move on to
Yeah.
that, on the form-based code,
Yeah.
you do have a draft dated August 14th. That's
Yeah.
the revision that will be produced as part of the public hearing process. That'll be referenced in the advertisement. We will have a link to it on the town's webpage. We will have, if someone requests a paper copy, we'll have to print that out for them. The, probably one change that you may or may not pick up on is there was an original reference to a green space and open space map within the district. And it made a reference to a kind of regulating map for public green spaces. There wasn't a traditional map in that sense as a regulating plan. So I removed the references to a regulating map for open space and parks, and basically included language of kind of the aspirational aspect that when you do a development, your intent is to provide public spaces, public green spaces, park-like settings. So that language is there, it just doesn't refer to a specific figure as a regulating plan.
and the target date for this is again September
September
14th.
14th.
That's a Tuesday, I think.
No.
Monday, a Monday?
Monday.
That's a Monday, yeah.
Should we plan to be there?
Yes.
Should we plan to get up to the podium and cheer for this?
I don't think it could hurt. I mean, I think that's the opportunity where you have to say, we've been working on this for years. We've listened to everybody and tried to do. That's the opportunity where you get to say that.
Yeah.
So as long as you're unequivocal in your support, it wouldn't hurt. If you're going to be wishy-washy,
Don't complain
then
about
stay
it.
home.
I think what some of
September.
the members of the public may not understand is that
Ask what that word is.
as a planning board, you didn't just sit as a group one day and say, we need to change zoning, and this is our idea. This was literally a grassroots, community-driven process. Economic Development Commission, Housing, Town Council, URI, who kind of over the years started a small snowball that, kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it was, when is this gonna get done? When are you gonna draft the regulations? When are you gonna bring a consultant on board? And that's all great. And then you finally write something, and that's when people become critical of it, because they actually have something to react to. And some people are gonna like it, and some people aren't gonna like it. Is this the best for the community moving forward, which may not be viewed as the best for an individual within the district? But that's the nature of zoning.
Jamie, I think it would be more accurate to say, rather than all those people contributing to this single snowball, all those people actually came to the same conclusions from a different set of perspectives. And it's only been at the very end that we've all gotten behind that same snowball and pushed it. But the URI studies wound up at this same point in conclusion. The EDC, with their survey of business owners, wound up at this separately. The Affordable Housing Committee has wound up in the mixed-use camp for its own set of reasons. So it's not just that everybody ganged up behind this idea at the beginning. They all arrived there and then pushed it through.
And I'm gonna make one disclaimer. Snowball is probably a bad reference because it's not something that we created and we're pushing down the hill and we're just gonna go through everybody. This is just, my intent was this started small. And it got, as people got interested and people looked at the aspects of it, it became to the forefront. And that's when we hired a consultant, and that's when we started this endeavor.
In
Is-
light of that, I think we have to make it clear that it only relates to this particular area of the town. Because I'm sure the people with the farms and big open spaces, you know, are afraid that the creep is gonna be into their area.
Well, I think the point, Armin, is that doing density in a core area like this is what helps prevent
Sprawl,
Well,
yeah,
and that's what I think
Sprawl
it
out
needs to
into
be
the
stressed, because
yeah,
'cause
definitely.
big concern, I think, is
Yeah.
some big developer come in, buy up a couple of big farms, and now put up,
That's not ours.
yeah,
And to that point, Armin, which is a great point, is that this is contained to the area that we're proposing to rezone. It also doesn't require anyone to make any changes to
Right.
their property
right.
until they propose to either redevelop it or expand. So if
Which people still don't understand.
people
Right,
don't
'cause
necessarily
that's what
understand.
I hear is mandatory.
You know,
You
Yeah.
know,
I wanna say,
Yeah.
I'm
Not
sure
mandatory.
Andy will be doing some of the presentation, and that's something as the legal counsel, he can stress that this is a regulation, but it doesn't require anyone to change their normal processes. So if you're CVS, you continue to be CVS, you can continue to have your drive-through. You are not required to make any changes or revisions to your property. If CVS went away and someone proposed to redevelop the property, tear down the building and redevelop it, the regulations would, in essence, pull that building toward closer to the sidewalk with parking behind or to the side. And I think that's an important item to stress.
What about the financial aspect of all this? Because you know that's going to come up. And when we had that other presentation, we had our consultant present finances. It was very difficult to see and to understand, but I think we need to be prepared if and when somebody asks,
We will
what's
be.
the cost? And how are we gonna do that? Are we gonna have
I think part of it is you can summarize what the consultant did, but the primary takeaway from the consultant is the regulations allow more density than the current regulations allow. And there'll be a debate of whether you can fit that density on the lot I own versus the lot next to me, because there will be someone in the audience who says, well, this doesn't work for my specific small tiny property. But it's meant for a broad brush district.
Sorry, I just have to put the printer back. I'm so sorry. It goes
No.
right there, and I have to do this because otherwise, you'll see.
You're good.
Don't mind me. I'm sorry.
So again, we can
It's a
explain
public
that.
meeting, you're welcome.
Come right in.
I think I'm tapped out of town
The
hall.
increased density changes the financial structure of the property. It potentially makes properties more valuable and more attractive to a developer because they can't increase density. And the key increase in density is adding the residential component. We don't currently allow residential in in the majority of these districts.
So that's the perfect to my question, which is there are a lot of people in this town who want more affordable housing and want more housing options, but we're having a drought and we're having water restrictions, and they are really resistant to more density in the town. We've already got, people that can't water their tomato plants And here, the planning board is building more houses and building denser houses. And I think there may be pushback from the town over increased density proposals. So I think we need to have a response to that in the can too.
And that may be an opportunity to talk about the infrastructure in place in this particular limited area of town.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. And you know, when Armin's comment about clarification, I think is really important. And finding a way to do that without being either apologetic or defensive would be good.
I think the response on that is there's housing pressure no matter what. We have a crisis in housing, and the pressure is there no matter what. The choice is, where do you want to see it? Do you want to see your farm fields replaced with more subdivisions and developments there? Or do you want to have it in town where you have the infrastructure, not just water, but sewer and transportation and the services? That's the question. And that decision, if people want to change that, then they can change the comp plan, but the comp plan for this town for the last 30 years has called for that, to increase the overall development and density in the core so as to preserve all those outlying rural and neighborhood areas, whether it be the shore or the upland farms, but that has been the goal.
But one doesn't preclude the other. That building this won't prevent that.
I think it will help because it's going to happen somewhere.
But it could happen in both.
It could, but
It could, but we have strong limitations between our own town regulations and the CRMC SAMP plan. We have fairly strong protections for the outlying areas. Now, the whole point of housing and comprehensive permits with housing tends to diminish some of those protections. So that's what we might have. If we don't welcome it here somewhere, if we don't welcome it in downtown, then it's going to be more likely to happen through a comprehensive permit out in the outlying areas. And that will be part of the argument. Well, you don't allow it anywhere, so why don't we have it here? If we can point and say, this is where we have it, this is where we allow it, and we've even made new accommodation to it. With this change, we've significantly increased density, and it's not like we're taking, we're not taking shoreside meadows or farm fields to do it. We're taking mall parking lots to do it.
That's good. Anything else on this before we move on? Okay. Jamie, do you have any specific?
So can I just say
Yeah,
one thing?
go ahead.
So please resist the temptation, no matter how good a suggestion comes up from anyone, whether it be a town councilor, member of the public, or whatever. Some good suggestions like, oh, we didn't think about that would be a good idea. Please resist the temptation to support that. Let's get it passed as is. It's can always be changed in the future. Make a note, scribble down that idea for the future, but don't take the bait in this meeting, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that, trying to get this, continued for further study. So I urge you not to do that if you want to see this
But
passed.
that's just time consuming and expensive. I have one burning question. Having read the August 14th draft, what is the meaning under form-based code 3 and 4 local? What is the meaning of the word Wunnerf?
It is
It's
a shared street.
A shared
And if
street.
you look in the
I
definitions,
looked it up,
I
too.
defined it for you.
What's it called?
It's a Dutch term.
It's not in here.
And it's like,
It's in
How
the
many
definition.
questions are we gonna get on that one?
We all need the answer, as long as we have the answer. Of course we know that.
I added
I
it.
thought it was a
It's
typo
not
when I
in-
first saw
it's-
it.
I thought it
It's
was
not-
too.
And I Googled it, and
It's not
having-
it's not in my version.
having been in
It's not in
Amsterdam
your
just
version?
last
You said
year,
it's in the definition.
I,
Oh, okay.
I can understand it. There are streets there, like along the canal, it's very narrow, and they're full of people and bicycles, and the cars are crawling along at 5 miles an
It
hour, or
sounds
4
Dutch.
miles an hour, because of all the people using it all together in the same
It
thing.
sounds
So
very Dutch.
I did add a definition because I
Oh,
knew
you're right.
someone
There it
would
is.
ask
There it
for
is.
this.
There it is. The very last page.
Again, it's a European, primarily Dutch term. It's a shared street design concept in which moving and parked cars share the same space as moving and lingering pedestrians and bicyclists. It centers on the belief that a street is rightly a physical and social part of the land use realm to be used simultaneously for vehicles, peoples, bikes, and scooters. So it gives someone the ability to create an alley and then allow cars to go down that alley. And you coexist in that environment. But because of the way it's designed, the speeds are like 2 and 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour. You understand the use. It's not kids playing stickball in the middle of Route 1.
It sounds like it's kind of.
But the Dutch go 2 or 3 miles an hour because of this.
Wait a minute.
Trust us
Wait
to
a
do that
minute.
too?
No. The Dutch their bicycles go at least
The-
25
the-
miles an
The
hour.
cars go that slow on the
But the
streets.
bicycles do
On
not.
the dedicated bike lanes, the bikes go fast and they
25
will
miles
run
an
you
hour.
down. If you cross against the light, they'll run you down with their bike. Fortunately, the bikes aren't electrified, but they will move. The bike with one little kid on the back and another one behind and a third one in the trailer moving at 20 miles an hour will run you down.
Okay.
There is one other thing.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
This one is another one that I found very amusing. On page 16, under miscellaneous, the lower right-hand corner, it says, all residential lots must provide and maintain 1 tree in the front yard.
I wrote at least on every single time. It's in every section.
It
One
is?
tree.
Okay,
Like,
at least.
We need to change that to be at least 1 tree. I,
Well, let's live with it now so we have this draft and we don't have to go.
well, no, that can be
Change it.
changed, but you're implying that we only get to put 1 tree by saying 1 tree.
No, we're saying the requirement is 1. No one's saying you can't have more.
Well, it does. It just says all lots must have 1 tree.
Actually, it does preclude more.
It says 1 tree.
No, it
Because you-
precludes you from requiring more than 1 if it's not otherwise in the landscaping. It doesn't preclude them
No,
from
it
putting
does,
more than
because,
1.
no, it does, because it says you have to have 1. It's an exact number. That means you can't have 2.
can you add minimum?
We'll look at it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Anyway,
Anything else?
no,
All right.
I'm just giving this to Jamie.
Jamie, reports and special items, do you have anything?
Just again, September 14th, please
Yeah.
mark that in your calendar. For our upcoming meeting, we have the Preserve. I'm looking at our board.
2001.
2001's back
When is the preserve?
Next week.
Tuesday.
There was one other thing. What am I missing? Broad Rock? Broad Rock would be nothing next month.
Are you gonna give us anything to read before we address the preserve again?
It will go out with the package, so they're
Okay.
proposing some revisions. We'll have a project memo with our recommendations.
Okay.
And we'll get that around Thursday.
We're hoping to have it Thursday, or we'll push it Friday morning.
And question about, moving forward, I would assume it would be in the next month. The council has expressed a strong desire to eliminate data centers. Can you just tell us how we will go about?
So I know, Amy Goins was at the last council meeting,
Mhm.
and I believe they approved an order of notice for a proposed text amendment to in essence, prohibit data centers from being constructed on any parcel in town.
When we don't do we have that in our use code?
Someone could argue that it's a utility or it's just another general industrial use. So, you know, Amy
So we
and I
need to-
talked about it, of either clearly defining that under the utility definition, that a data center is not considered a utility, and then
Mhm.
therefore it would be prohibited. She added it as a term in a use code, so it's on the left-hand side of our tables, it says data center, and then in every zone, there's an N.
Okay.
So do we have to get it, or does it go from Amy just to back to the town council?
So it goes council, and again, I haven't seen any correspondence yet,
Mhm.
but maybe that's something we can add to our agenda for next week. Of review and referral back to the council. And again, I didn't track when the order of notice is being called for, when the public hearing is scheduled.
Okay. You have nothing else, I assume, then?
No, we have, if anyone's interested, there is an APA Rhode Island summer event coming up,
September?
first or second week in September. We'll push that out.
Okay.
If someone would like to attend, let us know. We would, I think we have the resources, we may be able to pick up the cost of you attending.
Is it a one-day thing? Like it's
So it's an evening social hour.
Yeah,
with
it's just a social thing, it's not a,
Oh,
planning
where's
board
that?
members.
Where is it?
Narragansett Brewery, I think.
yeah, Narragansett Brewery.
Nice and close.
Not in Narragansett,
But it's Rhode Island.
yeah.
Jamie, did we want to talk about our discussion from this morning about outreach, about council
Oh.
meeting?
Yeah, the other aspect is the planning, you know, what is the planning board's stance on outreach as we come forward to the September 17th public hearing? Again, I don't want to say that, you know, as planning staff, we're representing the council, the planning board, and the community. EDC is sending a letter out to some of the business communities and residents that they've been working with. Affordable housing may do something, but, you know, I would kind of defer to legal tonight. That the planning board's making a recommendation to council. You know, I don't want to jeopardize the administrative process of saying the planning board's
Yeah,
going
you-
above the norm.
Right. You should not have ex parte communication with the council members on this pending ordinance.
Yeah.
Or a letter to the community.
You can. I think it should be more coming from the department than the board members.
So is this September meeting a public hearing?
Yes.
Or is this when they get it and they schedule a public
No,
hearing?
they've
No,
already
scheduled.
scheduled
It's gonna be
the public.
advertised, gonna run in the paper.
So does that mean the
For-
neighbors are all notified?
Is that the 14th?
Yeah.
14th or
there's-
the 17th?
14th, sorry,
14th.
Monday the 14th.
Okay.
And yeah, the neighbors, everybody in the zone and within 200 feet outside is gonna get a letter telling them about it.
Jamie, when we had
So
the,
hundreds of people.
Yeah.
when we had the charrette, did the planning department collect email addresses for the folks who attended that?
We may have a list of names, I'm not sure if we collected full email addresses, so I'm not sure that list is a document we can rely on as
Uh-huh.
an all-inclusive list to send names out.
So this is not yet final then, we're gonna still make some changes.
But there's a couple, I mean,
Right, I mean, like more than one tree, I don't. So when will this be finalized?
I
Cause the
think-
ad's running in the paper Thursday?
yeah, if I have a couple hours tomorrow morning to make changes, if not, it goes out as publicized.
All right, would you just let me know when it is? Because the one thing I am gonna do, I'm going to let, our prime opposition, at least let them know that it's out there. They're gonna find out anyway, so I'm gonna at least provide it as a courtesy, but I don't wanna do it until you got the
Right.
last draft.
Yep.
there are a couple of omissions. They're noted in there. Those are all really just typos, but there are some gaps or some spaces where there's a place where a paragraph didn't get added, so you just want to flip through that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to come over.
So there's a APA annual event, and then we have the Southern New England Planning Association's coming up in
Oh, SNEPA.
SNEPA in October. It's being held at Foxwoods
Yeah.
Resort. So if anyone's interested in that, again, we may be able to, whether we can pay full or assist you in attendance, just let me know.
Yeah, maybe you can send out when we get close to the actual content.
Registration's not open yet
Right,
or
right.
anything, so.
I think they're still
we just
looking
have
for,
placeholders for
Yeah.
dates.
okay. If there's nothing else, motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Caper,
Second.
second from Armand. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.